The bodies pile up, including victims from the attack at a maternity and children's hospital. And as the attacks continue, we're seeing more and more Ukrainians desperate to flee the bloodshed, escaping to neighboring countries, including Romania. CNN's Miguel Marquez is in Bucharest for us.
You know, it's been amazing to be here over the last couple of days. The Romanians and the European Union, indiscriminate force across Ukraine. The crisis here only getting worse.
What I need, and maybe about 2 hours.
Anna Lukyanenko from Mykolaiv in southern Ukraine, a city hammered indiscriminately by Russian rockets and artillery. Lukyanenko had 2 hours to pack up her 2 kids, her mother, and her children's godmother. 2 hours to pack. No idea if she'll see her husband, grandparents, or country again.
Let's see, in my heart I said I think that Ukrainian will be free and everything will be okay, but who knows when.
Lukyanenko trying to get from Bucharest to friends in Poland. One story of millions. Families now being torn apart in Ukraine and across Europe.
We will see people who are without capabilities, without possibilities, financial possibilities, who are running from war. They are running for their lives, taking just very few things with them, and sometimes even without documentation.
The speed at which Ukrainians are transformed into refugees increasing exponentially as Russia continues punishing attacks on civilian and military targets alike.
We don't know what is coming and how many people are coming to Bucharest. As far as we know, the people coming here are only in transit. A few of them remain in Romania. But we don't know how many people will come, so we need to be prepared.
Romanians not just waiting to receive Ukrainian refugees. Now they're collecting and organizing massive amounts of humanitarian supplies, all to be shipped directly to Ukraine.
They need drugs. And we have a specific list of what kind of drugs. They need medical kits, and they need food that can be preserved.
Did you ever think you'd be in this situation?
No, I mean, a war in 2022, it's unbelievable.
Now, in total, Romania has taken on about 360,000 refugees so far. They've come through the country. Most of them are moving on to other countries, so about 85,000 are staying. But that number is growing, which is a concern to Romanians because they don't have a lot of space here. Here in Bucharest, they've now opened up their biggest indoor public space that will soon start taking refugees. They can hold about 2,000 there. Wolf?
All right, Miguel Marquez in Bucharest for us. So, Miguel, thank you very much. Let's go to another critical battleground right now in this war against Ukraine. The southern Ukrainian port city of Odessa. CNN international security editor Nick Payton-Walsh is, of course, on the scene for us. Nick, a Russian warship actually fired over the skies of Odessa, we're told. How are the people there preparing for a Russian assault?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've seen intense barricading here over the past weeks. And I have to say, when roughly we think that ship fired those shots, which local Ukrainian security officials think was about trying to see how the air defences here would react, we were standing in a street that was littered with tank traps, extraordinary iron girdles that had basically been welded together. And that's across the whole of the city's sort of central tourist district, deserted, covered in sandbags. And so I think that moment certainly left people more anxious than we've seen in past days, that we may be seeing sort of Russian probing of the defences of this key port that Russia really has to have influence over if it wants to influence Ukraine's full economy. After that, on the skyline behind me, around about dusk, there was a couple of bursts of what sounded like heavy anti-aircraft fire, and it's been a relatively quiet night, but I think there's a slight increase in the anxiety of people in Odessa. Adding to that too, we're seeing along the Black Sea coast, Wolf, increased sense of Russian military activity, although the key port city of Mykolaiv, the regional head there, has been quite bullish in the last 24 hours, suggesting that although they've lost people on checkpoints, in fact Russian armour has suffered losses through airstrikes. Wolf?
So how is the pressure mounting over there in Mykolaiv?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen over the past couple of days this sort of back and forth around the outskirts of the town where clearly Russian bids to get into the city have been repelled. That's evident, but there have been losses too amongst the Ukrainian forces. We saw actually the regional head Vitaly Kim, who's very popular on Telegram, put out a sort of strange cheat sheet to Russian soldiers. He said the prisoners they'd taken, he claimed, having all suggested they were in fact thinking they were on a training exercise here in Ukraine. And we've heard that from other officials too, that this was how they could potentially surrender. Also signs of extra Russian armour being brought into the next port city of Kherson via rail, but fear, I think, here that we're seeing slow momentum building towards Russia eventually pushing down on this key city of Odessa, Wolf.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking to hear those reports. The potential for disaster is enormous right now. Nick Payton-Walsh on the scene for us in Odessa. Thank you very much. An important note to our viewers: for information about how you can help humanitarian efforts in Ukraine, go to cnn.com/impact and help impact your world. There's more breaking news just ahead. Russia's invasion of Ukraine helping push U.S. gas prices even higher now to another new record. We're taking a closer look at how high prices could actually go. That and a lot more when we come back.
Bring your eyes into the spotlight with Lumify eye drops. Lumify dramatically reduces redness to help your eyes look brighter, whiter, and more luminous, radiant, vibrant for up to 8 hours. Lumify. You won't believe your eyes.
I may have moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis
or psoriatic arthritis,
but we are so much more. We're team players and artists,
designers and do-it-yourselfers, parents and
nationwide. That is up 7 cents from yesterday's record and up almost 80 cents since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which was on February 24th. Now, this is all coming on the heels of really high inflation that Americans have been experiencing that's been pushing gas prices higher. Now, according to Moody's Analytics, if gas prices stay about where they are right now, American families can expect to spend $1,300 more on gas this year compared to pre-pandemic times. And new tonight, AAA reporting that 60% of Americans say that if gas prices crossed $4 as the national average, they would have to make changes to their driving, either carpooling or pulling back completely. We've obviously crossed that threshold, and 75% of Americans, Wolf, say that if gas crosses $5 for the national average, they are going to have to change their driving habits. According to analysts that we have spoken to, that could be in the very near future, maybe about a month or so from now, we could see $5 as the national average. So, Wolf, with inflation, with this invasion of Ukraine, and with spring break and summer driving coming up, it's going to be a very painful couple of months for Americans at the pump. Wolf?
Yeah, in some parts of the country, it's above $5 already out in California and on the West Coast. CNN's Vanessa Yurkevich in New York for us. Thank you, Vanessa. Gas prices are just one of the factors pushing U.S. inflation now to a 40-year high. Our White House correspondent, MJ Lee, is working this part of the story for us. So, MJ, walk us through these numbers. A lot of things families rely on are getting more and more expensive.
That's right, Wolf. The bottom line is that practically everything feels more expensive for American families across the country. Take a look at some of these numbers in terms of how much more things cost today compared to about a year ago. Gasoline prices up 38%, used cars up 41% compared to a year ago. Groceries cost 8% more, and apparel more than 6% up than a year ago. This, by the way, is why we have seen the White House have a hard time selling some of the more positive data points in the economy that they have seen, like wage growth, jobs growth, the GDP number, when everyday Americans are going to the store, going to the gas pump, as we saw Vanessa reporting on, and seeing that prices have gone up. All of these data points that I just talked about, those become a little harder to sell, Wolf.
The White House is trying, as you know, MJ, to sell this as a, quote, Putin's price hike, but that's not necessarily quite the case, is it?
That's right. The White House has practically made Putin's price hike a new slogan in terms of talking about inflation. And the point that they have been trying to make is that since the Russia invasion of Ukraine, energy prices in particular have really taken a hit. But of course, this is not the full story. As we know very well, even well before the Russian invasion began, there have been issues with inflation, gas prices already going up because of the pandemic, because of some of the issues that we saw related to COVID, like worker shortages, supply chain issues. We've seen some of the ports at our countries becoming blocked and exacerbating all of those issues. So the question that the White House is facing now is how long is this going to last? And interestingly, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said today that gas prices being high should be temporary and not long lasting. I have a suspicion that this is going to be something that she's going to continue getting asked about. And also just the question of what are you going to do to deal with it? Of course, the White House knows very well the reality that this is not an issue that they can fix overnight. Wolf?
Certainly isn't. MJ Lee at the White House, thank you very much. The breaking news continues next with a closer look at how U.S. weapons are actually helping Ukraine hold off Russia's unprovoked invasion.
Getting the incredible iPhone 13 without T-Mobile makes as much sense as playing hide and seek.
Ready or not, here I come!
In the desert.
Really, guys?
T-Mobile has more 5G bars in more places than anyone. And now, when you switch, you can get iPhone 13 on us, on every plan.
You're not gonna fit in that hole.
Don't look any further. Unlock the full power of iPhone 13 on us at T-Mobile, the network with more 5G